at what age in your life did you know that you wanted to get into radio?
Oh, oh man. When I was young, I was probably 9 years old. My parents took me down to spring training for the Brewers, and I had all my questions written out for Hank Aaron. Of course, I never talked to him or anything, but I think that was my first, like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to be a reporter kind of thing. So it's kind of corny, but it's actually a true story. But I never got to talk to him. Got to see some good baseball though.
And then what was your first, so did you go off to college, study for broadcasting? What was the next step in that plan?
Yeah, actually, I graduated with a degree in psychology at Ripon College in '81. I kind of took a few years because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I worked at J.C. Penney and I worked as a janitor and just did a bunch of odd jobs. I was living in the Oshkosh area. And then I found WRST, which is as you know, the college radio station. And my first show was called Classical Showcase. And then I had a rock show and took a couple classes just for fun and ended up going to Brown Institute in Minneapolis because I thought this is so cool and you get to meet people. I think one of my turning moments, if you could say that, would be at WRST when I went to EAA and I got to interview. They gave me a tape recorder and go interview tons of people, and I definitely caught the fever at that time. Like, this is really cool stuff. I get to meet people and interact, and that level of engagement really attracted me.
So what was your first gig? Where did you finally land at your first radio job?
It was Rice Lake at WAQE WMYD, and spent a few months there until I found out in Monticello, Minnesota, that a former classmate of mine at Brown Institute was the general manager at a station called KMOM. And then I was named news director there about, I think that was December of 1988. It's going back quite a ways. And then since then it was Amory, Wisconsin, where I met my wife at WXCE. And then it was KFIZ. And then I had 2 more stations after that.
So what prompted the jump to KFIZ? What was it about KFIZ that appealed to you?
Well, it was kind of a happenstance thing. It was a friend of mine who was a sports director at WXCE, and he found an article in the journal that KFIZ was hiring a news director. And he said, well, why don't you just try it? I think part of the motivation was he wanted to be the news director at WXCE, but God bless him, because that was a big break in my career, and met with Rob Cutter and Randy, and the rest was history.
Do you remember what year that was that you came to Fond du Lac?
1996. It was May of 1996. It's around the same time that Freeman came to the station too, Chuck Freeman.
Yeah, Freems came on board, I want to say that summer of 96.
Yeah, so it was real close time period there. But yeah, so that's kind of the quick history of, but radio have many fond memories, of course, which we'll talk about a little bit here, of KFIZ.
Any memorable stories that in your tenure, and you left KFIZ in early 2000s-ish? Do you remember?
2001, October of 2001.
So in those 5 years, some stories that stick out in your memory as far as, ones that you just really remember covering in the community?
Well, that's the obvious one that really comes to mind is Oakfield, the Oakfield tornado, which was July 18th of 96. I will not forget that. And I remember being in, this news director of a media market, and all the pressure, like, oh my gosh, this is my baby here. But if it wasn't for the fantastic teamwork of the whole team spread out, and you had Jerry St. John and Chuck Freeman and the whole staff and Torgerson and everybody pulling together to make this a team coverage type thing. And so we survived it, but it was amazing. I remember driving around the city of Oakfield with Chuck Freeman about midnight. Somehow we got in there and to observe, like boats on the top of trees and this decimation, and getting firsthand interviews from people who were crying and lost their homes. That was just it was tough. It was tough to cover, and it's like, wow. But that was obviously the most impactful story, and so early into my tenure at KFIZ. Other stories, I remember doing the 6 a.m. news in the middle of Highway 41 once. I thought that was kind of, I think there was some kind of, it was either, I don't even remember what it was. It was like, might have been a traffic accident or something, some other emergency like Merck Marine or something. But, I basically said, here's the stories I want. Here's a copy of the stories. And I gave Jerry St. John all the info and rushed out there, and we made it by like 1 minute. But that was kind of nerve-wracking, but that's the excitement of live radio. It's that adrenaline rush. So, but yeah, I guess those two things come to mind. There was the prison special that we won. I think it was a WBA award or an AP award on Women Behind Bars, and Stan Stricker and I went in to Techita, and they actually brought in about 12 prisoners, and there were only about 2 guards, and it was a little bit of a nerve-wracking situation, like what if something happens here, but we ended up getting like an hour's worth of interviewing, going from person to person and putting together a pretty good special. So wow. Those are the top 3 that just come to mind here, but there were more.
And what about your time on the Breakfast Club? So obviously, I mean, you're busy, running the news operation and all that, but you're getting up early in the morning and being part of the morning show. And I mean, that was Fond du Lac, right? Anybody who had a radio in town was tuned in to the morning show, certainly back in those times. So you had a huge listenership and kind of made, I guess, a little bit of a celebrity out of the 3 of you, Jerry, Chuck, and yourself, obviously. So just some memories from being with those guys on the air in the morning throughout the years.
Yeah, it was just, I think the thing that comes to mind is just the sense of humor, and you talk about somebody like Chuck Freeman or Jerry St. John, all very unique and very funny people. Very, I mean that in the best way. I mean, there's the sense of, you have to have a sense of humor in the radio business because almost anything can happen, right? And I just enjoyed the personalities. I was kind of, I guess, the straight man on the Breakfast Club, but I would kind of deflect and make them sound better. So, but it was a blast. It was like it didn't feel like work a lot of times because it was so fun. But the quality of the talent. Freeman, St. John, Rob Cutter, Scheibinger, Stricker. That's a pretty talented people there, I'd say.
It was quite the group, and 100 years on the air. I mean, how about that? What a legacy of a radio station for KFIZ.
Yeah, congratulations, KFIZ. Proud of you. And I still tune in once in a while.
Yeah. So where are you at now? Where has life taken you since your days at the Fizz?
Well, I actually am working at a communications company. I'm a supervisor in the billing department, and I do a lot of work with FCC and BBB reports, and it's a good niche, good environment, and I get to use my radio skills as I take a lot of escalated calls, and it's kind of like one big talk show.
Still in the area then, obviously.
Well, I'm saying that it's an analogy that.
I mean, living in the area.
What's that?
Still living in the area.
Oh, I still am. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Still living in the area, absolutely. And my wife Debbie and I have lived here for over 25 years now. Hard to believe, but
You made
the
it your
time,
home and you kept it your home.
yeah, yeah, I like the area. So yeah, it's great. And again, congratulations to KFIZ on a great anniversary.